The Trump administration is reportedly evaluating hedge fund veteran Kyle Bass for a significant role within either the Treasury Department or the Department of Defense. This consideration marks a strategic shift in the administration's approach to economic and national security policies, highlighting a growing recognition of the interplay between financial expertise and national defense. Background on Kyle Bass. Kyle Bass is a prominent figure in the finance world, known for his bold investment strategies and vocal positions on various economic issues, particularly concerning China. He gained fame for successfully predicting the 2008 financial crisis through his hedge fund Heyman Capital Management, which has since focused significantly on geopolitical risks, especially those emanating from China. His reputation as a contrarian investor has made him a notable voice in discussions surrounding U.S.-China relations, where he advocates for a tougher stance against Chinese economic practices. Strategic shift in policy. The potential appointment of Bass reflects the Trump administration's intent to integrate financial expertise into key national security roles. This move underscores a broader understanding of how economic stability is intertwined with national security. The administration's ongoing concerns about foreign economic threats, particularly from China, align with Bass's background and investment philosophy. 1. Economic expertise in national security. The integration of financial acumen into defense and economic policy is seen as vital in addressing vulnerabilities that could jeopardize national security. As global economic dynamics shift, having a voice like Bass in a significant role could influence how the U.S. formulates its policies in relation to economic powers. 2. Impact on U.S.-China relations. Bass's vocal criticism of China's economic policies could lead to more assertive U.S. strategies in dealing with China. Given the current geopolitical climate, his insights might be crucial in navigating complex trade relations and addressing concerns about intellectual property theft, trade imbalances, and national security risks associated with economic dependence on foreign powers. Potential challenges and backlash. While the potential appointment of Kyle Bass could pave the way for a more finance-oriented approach to national security, it is not without its challenges. There may be significant backlash from progressive factions within the government and the public. Critics might perceive Bass's aggressive stances on China as potentially escalating tensions rather than fostering constructive engagement. Furthermore, concerns about his past investment strategies and their implications for public policy could lead to debates about the appropriateness of placing a hedge fund manager in a governmental role that directly influences national security. Timeline of developments. January 2025, reports began circulating about the Trump administration's consideration of Bass for a key role, indicating a potential shift in policy direction. Ongoing discussions. As discussions evolve regarding economic security and national defense, the implications of Bass's potential appointment are anticipated to unfold, shaping both domestic and international policy decisions. Conclusion. Kyle Bass's potential appointment to a prominent position within the Treasury or Defense Department signals a strategic consideration by the Trump administration to leverage financial expertise in addressing national security challenges. This move could reshape U.S. economic policies and international relations, particularly concerning China, as the administration seeks to fortify its economic stance. As the discussions progress, the administration will need to navigate the complexities and potential backlash associated with such a significant appointment. The content presents a scenario where the Trump administration is evaluating hedge fund veteran Kyle Bass for a significant role in either the Treasury Department or the Department of Defense, indicating a strategic shift in economic and national security policy. The key points outlined in the content reflect a nuanced understanding of how financial expertise can influence national security strategies, particularly regarding U.S.-China relations. Counterintuitive information within the content includes 1. Contrarian reputation. Kyle Bass is known for his contrarian investment strategies, which typically run against prevailing market sentiments. His selection for a key governmental role could seem counterintuitive because government positions often favor consensus building and traditional approaches to policy. However, the administration's consideration of base suggests an openness to unconventional perspectives in tackling national security challenges. 2. Economic and national security interconnectedness. The idea that economic stability is deeply intertwined with national security may not be universally accepted. While many policymakers recognize this connection, others may prioritize military strength or diplomatic relations independently from economic considerations. The Trump administration's potential pivot towards integrating financial expertise into security roles challenges the traditional silos that often separate these domains. 3. Potential backlash from progressive factions. The content hints at potential resistance from progressive groups regarding Base's aggressive stance on China and his investment philosophies. This opposition may arise despite a broader trend among some conservatives to adopt a more hawkish approach towards China. The expectation of backlash from factions that typically align with national security interests highlights a possible division where financial pragmatism conflicts with ideological positions. 4. Investment philosophy's role in policymaking. The content emphasizes Base's background as a hedge fund manager and his focus on geopolitical risks, which may seem at odds with the traditional qualifications expected for roles in the Treasury or defense. The appointment of someone with a strong financial and investment background to a position traditionally held by career policymakers or military officials could reshape expectations about the qualifications necessary for these roles. 5. Impact on U.S. relationships with global powers. The notion that an individual's financial strategies could influence U.S. foreign policy, particularly in relation to China, may seem unexpected. Typically, foreign policy is viewed through a diplomatic lens, but the integration of financial considerations suggests a shift towards a more pragmatic, economically driven approach to international relations. These counterintuitive points underscore a significant evolution in how economic considerations are perceived in the context of national security and foreign policy, reflecting a potential redefinition of traditional roles and strategies within the U.S. government. In evaluating the potential appointment of Kyle Bass to a significant role in the Trump administration's Treasury or Defense Department, several nuanced aspects of this development merit closer examination. While mainstream discussions may focus on his reputation and potential policy impacts, there are important elements that could be overlooked, each holding significant implications for the broader context of U.S. economic and national security strategy. 1. Integration of financial expertise into national security. One of the most significant aspects of Bass's potential appointment is the broader shift toward integrating financial acumen into national security roles. This represents a recognition of the intricacies linking economic stability and national security. The Trump administration's move to prioritize financial expertise suggests a strategic pivot that may redefine how economic threats are perceived and addressed. Why it's significant: historically, economic policy and national defense have often been treated as separate domains. However, as global economic interdependence increases, the intertwining of these areas becomes critical. By appointing someone with a robust understanding of financial markets and geopolitical risks, the administration may be better equipped to formulate strategies that address economic vulnerabilities that could be exploited by foreign adversaries. This integration could lead to more proactive rather than reactive policymaking. 2. Bass's stance on China and geopolitical risks. Kyle Bass's vocal criticism of Chinese economic practices has positioned him as a controversial figure within discussions surrounding U.S.-China relations. His advocacy for a tougher stance against China aligns with the administration's growing concerns over economic threats from foreign powers. Why it's significant: Bass's perspective emphasizes the need to reassess economic partnerships and trade policies, particularly with nations perceived as strategic competitors. His appointment could catalyze a more aggressive economic policy that prioritizes national interests over global trade norms, potentially reshaping U.S. foreign relations and leading to increased tensions. The implications of this could extend beyond economics, influencing diplomatic relations and global alliances. 3. Potential backlash and political ramifications. While Base's financial expertise may be seen as a boon for the administration, there is a potential backlash from progressive factions within the government and the public who may oppose his aggressive stances. This could lead to increased polarization regarding U.S. foreign policy, particularly concerning China. Why it's significant? The political ramifications of his appointment could lead to significant challenges in the implementation of new policies. If Base's views are met with substantial resistance, it could hinder the administration's ability to execute its agenda effectively. Furthermore, this backlash might exacerbate divisions within Congress, complicating bipartisan efforts to address critical national security issues. 4. Long-term economic strategies. Base's track record of predicting economic downturns and his focus on geopolitical risks imply a shift towards long-term strategic planning in economic policy. His insights may lead to the development of frameworks that prioritize economic resilience against geopolitical shocks. Why it's significant? A long-term perspective on economic strategy is essential for maintaining competitiveness in a rapidly evolving global landscape. By focusing on economic resilience, the U.S. can better prepare for potential crises, ensuring stability in both financial markets and national security. This proactive approach could lead to more sustainable economic policies that prioritize long-term growth over short-term gains. 5. Influence on regulatory frameworks. If Base assumes a significant role in the Treasury or defense, his investment philosophy could influence regulatory frameworks governing financial markets, particularly concerning foreign investment and economic espionage. Why it's significant? Changes in regulatory frameworks could have far-reaching consequences for international business operations, particularly for firms engaged in trade with China. Stricter regulations could reshape the landscape of foreign investment, impacting industries reliant on global supply chains and potentially leading to economic isolationism. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for stakeholders in both the public and private sectors. 6. Impacts on domestic economic policy. Base's approach could lead to a recalibration of domestic economic policies, particularly in areas such as trade tariffs and investment in technology. His focus on the risks posed by foreign adversaries may encourage policies that prioritize domestic production and innovation. Why it's significant? A shift towards prioritizing domestic economic interests could foster a more self-reliant economy. But it may also lead to trade tensions and retaliatory measures from other nations. This could have implications for consumer prices, access to goods, and overall economic growth, making it a critical area for analysis. 7. Public perception and media narrative. The media portrayal of Base and his potential role could shape public perception of the Trump administration's economic and national security strategies. His controversial views may polarize public opinion, influencing voter sentiment in future elections. Why it's significant? The narrative surrounding Base's appointment could affect the administration's legitimacy and support among various voter demographics. Understanding how this narrative unfolds is essential for anticipating shifts in public sentiment and electoral outcomes, particularly as the administration navigates complex economic and national security challenges. Conclusion. Kyle Base's potential appointment within the Trump administration signifies more than a simple personnel decision. It reflects a broader strategic shift in how the U.S. approaches the intertwining realms of economic and national security. Each overlooked aspect of this development, from the integration of financial expertise to the geopolitical implications of his views on China, carries significant weight in shaping future policies and the overall landscape of U.S. governance. As discussions evolve, the impacts of this appointment will resonate across various sectors. influencing not only domestic policy but also international relations and the global economic order. Understanding these nuances is crucial for stakeholders and observers alike as they navigate the implications of this strategic pivot. 1. Strategic shift in policy. The potential appointment of Kyle Bass highlights a significant strategic pivot within the Trump administration towards integrating financial expertise into national security roles. This move reflects a growing recognition of the intertwined nature of economic stability and national security, suggesting that financial acumen is becoming increasingly crucial in formulating effective policies that address both domains. 2. Kyle Bass's influence on U.S.-China relations. Bass's reputation as a contrarian investor, particularly regarding his outspoken views on China, positions him as a key figure in shaping U.S. policies toward the country. His advocacy for a tougher stance against Chinese economic practices aligns with the administration's priorities, indicating that his influence could lead to more aggressive economic strategies aimed at mitigating perceived threats from foreign powers, particularly China. 3. Potential backlash and political implications. The consideration of Bass for a prominent role may elicit pushback from progressive factions within the government and the public, particularly due to his controversial views and investment strategies. This backlash could complicate Bass's potential appointment and influence the administration's broader foreign policy approach, especially in relation to balancing economic and diplomatic strategies. 4. Implications for domestic and foreign policy. If appointed, Bass's role could significantly reshape both domestic economic policies and international relations. His financial expertise could lead to a prioritization of economic strategies within defense and security paradigms, impacting how the U.S. approaches its relationships with other global economic powers and potentially leading to a more confrontational stance in international trade and diplomacy. 1. Henry Paulson's appointment as Treasury Secretary. 2006. Henry Paulson, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, was appointed by President George W. Bush as Secretary of the Treasury. His background in finance and investment banking was instrumental during the 2008 financial crisis, where he played a key role in shaping the government's response to the economic downturn. This appointment underscored the significance of financial expertise in government, particularly in managing economic crises and navigating national security challenges related to the economy. 2. Robert Rubin's role in economic policy. 1995. Robert Rubin, a former co-chairman of Goldman Sachs, served as the Secretary of the Treasury under President Bill Clinton. His tenure was marked by a focus on fiscal discipline and free trade, which significantly influenced U.S. economic policy. Rubin's experience in the financial sector allowed him to integrate economic strategies with national interests, particularly in the context of globalization and international economic relations. 3. James Baker's influence on U.S. foreign policy. 1985. James Baker served as Secretary of the Treasury before becoming Secretary of State under President George H.W. Bush. His dual roles allowed him to blend economic considerations with foreign policy, particularly during the end of the Cold War. Baker's efforts in negotiating international debt relief and stabilizing global markets showcased the interconnectedness of economic stability and national security, a theme that resonates with the potential appointment of Kyle Bass in contemporary discussions. The potential appointment of hedge fund veteran Kyle Bass to a key role in the Trump administration, either in the Treasury Department or the Department of Defense, could have far-reaching implications for U.S. economic and national security policies. This strategic shift suggests a growing recognition of the interconnectedness between financial stability and national security, particularly in the context of rising geopolitical tensions, especially with China. 1. Strategic integration of financial expertise. The Trump administration's consideration of Bass indicates a move towards integrating financial acumen into government roles traditionally focused on policy and strategy. With Bass's background in predicting financial crises and his focus on geopolitical risks, his appointment could enhance the administration's ability to craft informed economic policies that also address national security concerns. This integration is particularly relevant as economic vulnerabilities can be exploited by adversaries, making sound financial governance a critical component of national security. 2. Impact on U.S.-China relations. Base is known for his outspoken views on China, advocating for tougher measures against Chinese economic practices that he perceives as unfair or threatening to U.S. interests. His potential role could lead to a more confrontational approach in U.S.-China relations, shaping policies that aim to counteract perceived economic aggression from China. This could manifest in stricter trade policies, increased scrutiny of Chinese investments, and enhanced support for domestic industries to reduce dependency on foreign supply chains. 3. Potential resistance and backlash. While Base's appointment could resonate with sectors of the government and public that favor a hardline stance on China, it may also provoke significant backlash from progressive factions. Critics may argue that his views could exacerbate tensions and lead to detrimental economic consequences, including trade wars or increased isolationism. The administration will need to navigate these internal conflicts carefully to maintain a cohesive strategy that balances national security with economic growth. 4. A new framework for economic policy. Base's influence could usher in a new framework for U.S. economic policy that prioritizes national security considerations. This may involve a reevaluation of existing trade agreements, increased funding for domestic technological innovation, and investments in cybersecurity. By aligning economic policies with national security goals, the administration aims to fortify the U.S. position in a rapidly changing global landscape. 5. Broader implications for global economic policy. The potential appointment of Base could also signal shifts in global economic policy dynamics. U.S. allies may need to recalibrate their strategies in light of a more aggressive U.S. stance on economic security, particularly concerning China. This could lead to strengthened alliances among nations that share similar concerns about Chinese economic practices and a collective response to mitigate risks associated with foreign investments and supply chains. 6. Future economic landscape and policy predictions. As the Trump administration considers this strategic shift, several predictions can be made about the future economic landscape. Increased regulatory scrutiny. We can expect heightened scrutiny of foreign investments and stricter regulations aimed at protecting critical industries from foreign influence. Realignment of trade relationships. The U.S. may seek to reinforce trade relationships with allies while distancing itself from adversarial economies, particularly in sectors deemed vital for national security. Investment in domestic capabilities. There will likely be a push for increased investment in domestic industries, especially in technology and defense sectors, to bolster the U.S.'s economic independence and resilience against external pressures. Evolving financial strategies. The administration's approach to managing economic crises may evolve, incorporating lessons learned from past financial downturns while focusing on mitigating risks from geopolitical tensions. Conclusion. The potential appointment of Kyle Bass within the Trump administration symbolizes a significant strategic pivot that intertwines economic and national security policies. This approach recognizes the importance of financial expertise in shaping effective policy responses to global challenges. As the administration navigates the complexities of U.S.-China relations and broader economic vulnerabilities, the implications of this shift will unfold, potentially reshaping both domestic and international economic landscapes. The future will likely see a more integrated approach to policymaking that prioritizes economic stability as a cornerstone of national security.